Hello and welcome back to another tutorial by LearnPythonTutorial.com. Today we're going to focus on basics of Python dictionaries. This is going to be a very brief overview of a dictionary. We'll dive very deep into dictionaries in a later chapter, but as we're covering data types, we want to introduce you to dictionaries. Dictionaries are different than strings and lists because they do not follow the sequence order left to right using indexes to get the values. Um, Dictionaries use something called mapping, and we get the values by a key. So when you put values into a dictionary, they are not in a specific order. They don't go left to right like lists do, and they also do not use an index. So we can't use the index to call a value. We use something called a key. So to understand this, let's go ahead and fire up your Python interpreter. I already got mine up. For Mac users, go to your terminal, type in Python 3, and that will start up your Python interpreter. And Windows users, go to your command prompt and type in Python, and that will start up your Python interpreter. So let's go ahead and talk about a dictionary. A dictionary gives us a lot of flexibility. So for you to understand what a dictionary is best that I just show you how to create one and how to call the values from there, and you'll see the value in a dictionary. So let's create a dictionary. Let's create a variable first and assign it a dictionary. So let's do a equals, and the way we create dictionaries in Python is with the curly brace. So we do a curly brace, then we're going to give it the key. The key is the left side of the value. So the key, let's do pet. So we gave it a string. Then we're going to do a colon, not a semicolon, colon, and we're going to give it a type of pet. Let's say dog. So on the left side here is the key. On the right side here is the value. And we're going to separate the key and the value from the next key and value with a comma. And we're going to say our next key is going to be age. Then we're going to do a colon again, and we're going to give it an age. Let's say 7. So we got another key, age. So we got two keys now, pet and age. This pet is associated with dog. Age is associated with 7. So let's do another comma, and we're going to go give it another key, name, and colon, and we'll give our dog's name as Maggie. And we close out that string, and let's close the dictionary with another curly brace. Now we press return, and that creates or assigns our dictionary to our variable a. So let's call our dictionary. Let's go a and hit return, and we get our dictionary. Alright, cool. So this kind of looks like a list, kind of, but it doesn't act as a list. To prove it doesn't act like a list, we cannot call it by its index value. We cannot go, alright, this one is 0, so if we went, let's call it by its index 0, it's not going to work. So let's try it, just to prove the point. Square brace, 0. So we're trying to call this right here. So a, 0 index, and hit return. Up, key error. Okay, what's a key error? Well, actually, the only way you can call a value from a dictionary is by calling on its key. Like I said, this is the key here. Key, key, key. Alright, these are values. Value, value, value. Okay, so let's go ahead and call a key. How do we call a key? Let's do a square brace, and let's get h square brace. So now we call our list, that's a, because it's stored in that variable. Hold on one second. Alright, sorry, I had a phone call I had to take. So we got a, which is our list that's stored in the a variable. And then we're calling on the age key, which is right here, and we want it to return that value of 7. So this is how we call the key. So let's go ahead and hit return, and we get 7. Pretty cool. Let's try it again. Let's get the pet's name. So we do a square brace, and then we call the key, and we're going to call it name. And square brace. So a, then we call the key, name, and we'll get the value Maggie. Hit return, Maggie. I wanted to also point out here, if you notice how we entered our keys and values into our dictionary, and I said earlier there's no set left to right order. When I was on the phone there, I was kind of hoping this would happen so I can show you. So we put in the order here, and we have pet, dog, and then when we call it, do you notice that pet and dog actually went to the back end? There's no real reason why it would do this. It's just the way Python does it, but there's no set order. So with that being said, if we try to call, like we tried the index up here, we're not going to get an index called because this can change and shift when we add stuff to it. So let's also, dictionaries we can change in place. They're not like strings where we cannot change them. So let's go ahead and change the age to 8. I think my dog may be 8. So let's go ahead and change the age to 8. So we do a, we're calling that dictionary again, square brace, and we'll call the key age square brace. And then we're going to do plus equals, which says, all right, add and then equal it to that number 1. So we're going to say, all right, add 1 to H. So we can do this by going A, and then we're calling the key, and then saying add 1 to the value of H. So go ahead and hit return, and let's go ahead and call A. Up right here, you'll see H has turned to 8. Pretty cool, right? So we can change dictionaries where they are. We can add to them, we can delete from them. We can make them grow, we can make them shrink. We can do anything we want with dictionaries. They can change in place. We don't have to recreate the dictionary. A dictionary gives you more flexibility than a list. It gives us more options. Like, for example, we got name here. Well, we could put a list of names in here. So we can do name and then call a list of names. Say we had usernames. We have all our usernames within that list. Or we could have, let's see, we have email addresses here, and we could have a list of email addresses. We could actually have a list or a dictionary with a dictionary inside it. That's called nesting. So before we get all crazy, I would say this is enough for today, since this is just an introduction to Python dictionaries, the basics of the Python dictionary. I think we covered enough. In a later chapter, we're going to dig really deep into dictionaries. You will know everything you need to know about a dictionary. So until then, just practice creating dictionaries. You can also practice calling the values using the key, and you can even practice adding some numbers to it, or you can even practice adding values and keys into the dictionary. But we'll see you in the next one. We're going to talk about tuples. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. If you have any questions, leave comments on YouTube or on our website at learnpythontutorial.com. We'll see you in the next one.